For the deadlift, you're going to start by removing your shoes or wearing flat shoes such as a Chuck Taylor or a minimalist shoe to make sure that you don't have a heel lift that puts you out of position right from the start. From there, you want to make sure that you're using bumper plates or 45-pound plates so that the bar is the regulation height off the ground. If you use 25-pound plates or smaller, the bar is going to be too low and you're not going to be able to get into the best position. So from here, you're going to pick your stance. You can either pull conventional, meaning your feet are close together and your hands are outside your hips, or you can pull sumo, where your stance is wider and your hands are inside your hips. I'm going to go over conventional first. So here, I'm going to set up with my feet right under my hips, or maybe a little bit narrower. A good cue is set up wherever you would do a vertical jump. So for a vertical jump, I feel most comfortable right here. I feel like this is where I can produce the most power. If I go out any wider, I'm not going to be able to jump very high. So it's individual from lifter to lifter, but I typically coach narrower as opposed to wider. So from here, I'm going to set up with the bar a couple inches away from my shins. I'm going to kind of cut my foot in half. And this will, again, vary from lifter to lifter, but if I have longer arms, I can set up closer to the bar. If I have shorter arms, I'm probably going to have to set up further from the bar and let my knees come forward a little bit. So from here, I'm going to have a little bit of knee bend. Just let my knees go over the bar just slightly. I'm going to make a double chin and pull my chest up tall while pushing my arms down to make them as long as possible. What this is doing, this is creating lat tension. So I'm pushing my lats into my side pockets. I'm not retracting my shoulder blades. I'm also not letting them roll forward. I'm just trying to get my chest and my arms to go in opposite directions. You should feel a lot of tightness through your armpit area. I like to tell athletes, imagine that you're squeezing oranges under your armpits to make orange juice. That's going to prevent your back from rounding if you keep that tension with a reasonable amount of weight. From here, I'm going to sit back through my hips as far as I can so I get a little bit of a hamstring stretch. From here, I'm going to bend my knees just enough so I can grab the bar. I don't want to bend too low and give up that hamstring tension, just enough so I can grab the bar. Right about there should be good. As soon as I grab the bar, I want to do what's called taking the slack out of it by using my lats to kind of bend the bar against me. You can have that audible cue of doing this. A good deadlift bar will have a little bit of slack to it so that when I pull on it, you'll hear that clicking noise. So I tell athletes, click the bar or make the bar sound like it's loading a gun. So you have that clicking sound like you're ready to go. So a little bit of knee bend, sit back through my hips, grab the bar with one hand, click, grab the bar with the other hand, click, pull my chest up and get the bar against my shins. And if I put enough tension into the bar should actually start to come off the ground without me doing anything except lifting my chest up. So it's at 135 now, so if I put enough tension into the bar and start to lift my chest, it's actually coming off the ground already. That's how much tension you need to put into the bar with your lats and your upper back in order to stay in a good position under heavy weights. So once I've done all that and I've gotten into my position and I'm ready to get the bar off the ground, the next step is to just push my heels through the ground, stand up, squeezing my glutes at the top for a good lockout. To get back down to the floor, I'm going to sit my hips back like an RDL and kind of do a controlled fall down to the ground. If I do it correctly, I should have a little bit of space between the bar and my shins when I put the bar back down. That's going to get me identical in position to the original starting position. Now, if I round over too much, the bar is going to be right against my shins. But if I squat the bar down by pushing my knees forward instead of letting my hips come back, then the bar is going to be way too far away. So the way you return to the ground is just as important as how you get the bar off the ground. So again, in full speed, a couple inches away from the bar, soft knees, arms nice and long, big breath at the top, filling my stomach with air and holding it, sit back, take the slack out, pull my chest up, and go. I don't want to lean back too much at the top, I just want to stand up tall, squeeze my glutes, and push my hips into the bar. So that's a conventional deadlift. The sumo deadlift is very, very similar, except there's less sitting back and forth, and it's a little bit more pushing the knees out to keep the hips very, very close to the bar. Now I'll show you from the side first, and then we'll spin the bar around so you can get an idea of what happens from a front view. So for sumo, instead of standing with my feet right under my hips, I'm gonna widen my stance, turn my feet out at about a 45-degree angle, and get my shins right up against the bar. This is a big, big difference. For conventional, you want a little bit of distance from the bar. Sumo, you gotta get your shins right against it so I can keep my hips super close to the bar. Now, similar idea, where I'm making my arms really long and my chest really tall. I'm gonna get my breath at the top, but then as I go down to get the bar, I do not wanna sit my hips back. This does a couple of bad things. What it does is it puts your shoulders in front of the bar and it separates your shins from the bar. This is taking away all the advantages of sumo. The biggest advantage for sumo is keeping your hips close to the bar, which allows you to keep your torso upright and push a little bit more with your legs instead of relying so much on your back as the main driver of the movement. So here, screwing my feet into the ground, pushing my knees out at the plates, and trying to stay right over top of the bar as I go down to get it. Now I'm not gonna squat, I'm gonna try to spread, so I'm going like east to west to get to the bar, staying as tall as I can. Once I can grab the bar, flick, flick, chest up, get the bar going, and then push with my legs to lock the bar out. Going back down on a sumo is, again, incredibly important. You can't sit back at all. You have to spread the floor to get back down to the floor to make sure that the bar doesn't roll away from you. So spreading my knees out, keeping my hips as high as I can, so my hips are above my knees. If I sit any lower, I lose all that hamstring tension. So trying to keep the hips as high as you can and the hips as close to the bar as you can. Click, click, push, and then to get back to down to the ground, push the knees back out, so you end up in the same exact position. So we'll wheel this bar around so you can get an idea of what sumo looks like from the front. Stance width is gonna vary again from lifter to lifter. You wanna go as wide as you can without feeling like you can't push through the ground. So if I go too wide, I feel like I can't push through the floor. If I go too narrow, I have to sit back and I can't stay on top of the bar. So for most people, a good place to start is just inside the rings and then adjust in or out from there. So again, pushing the knees out at the plates to make sure my shins stay right against the bar. Take the slack out, chest up, and push. So that's the sumo deadlift. A lot of the same things apply from the conventional to the sumo, just the way you get to the bar is slightly different.